Welcome, everybody. Welcome to 2024. This is a pre-recorded episode of Business on the Block. This is going to bring to you today our predictions of what you can expect by the end of this new year. So by December of 2024, we're going to each give you 3 predictions and the whys we believe that as to what you can expect in the world of digital media, blockchain, AI, and all the affiliated things that are going to affect small business. So I'm joined as always by my lovely co-host, Michelle Peterson-Clark.
Hi, Happy New Year, everyone.
And Mike Neubauer.
Hello, Happy New Year.
So today being January 3rd, 2024, this is episode 61 of the Business on the Block podcast, your weekly insight for the digital media revolution insights, something like that. So anyway, we're going to go through our predictions. The format for today's show. We're going to each take a turn to share one prediction. The other 2 will debate it. We'll go around. I guess we'll do this 3 predictions each, right? So that's going to be 12 total. And at the end, we'll summarize it all for you. So we're going to start us off.
3 by 3 is 9 in my book. But...
Yeah, 9 math. I'm a math guy. Right. Thank you. So we're going to start off with Michelle, who keeps us honest. Yeah, no, totally. So Michelle, why don't you kick us off with your predictions, your first one only, and then Mike and I will debate that. And Mike, then we'll go to you.
Why do I always get to go first?
Ladies first.
Okay. Here's my out there thing. Amazon will somehow enter blockchain, whether it be a marketplace, a coin, a token, I don't know, won't be called a security, might be called a key. You never know. But I think that they are making moves behind the scene. We know that they've had blockchain developers for years now, and they've done nothing really. I think that by December 2024, they will be in Web3 blockchain, whether it be with a token where you can use that to pay for things on Amazon, or if they actually turn part of their marketplace into not an NFT marketplace, but a digital asset marketplace, something like that. That's what I think.
Interesting. Mike, I'm going to let you attack this first, but for the listeners, be aware that none of us know what the other 2's predictions are. So this is new to all of us. We're getting first go around with you guys live, kind of. Mike, go ahead. What do you think about this Amazon thing?
Unless somebody steals your questions.
Yes, I guess you agree then.
I think it's almost a foregone conclusion that they're moving in that direction. Whether it will happen before the end of next year, I think that's a little hopeful. I mean, and it's only because the Amazon algorithm, a lot of people don't realize how insanely complex it is. It's not just listing products and selling products. It's having the ability to market and cross promote different products to different people, segmented into various categories. It in its own right is its own search engine. So to integrate that to an on-chain capability, I think that's a little bit far-fetched. I know we talked very, very early on in last year, 2023, about having Amazon test the market with other chains like Avalanche. Do I see them making more of a push in that direction for the time being? Sure. There's going to be a lot of cross integration when they do deploy their own chain. But we've seen things like Bolt TV and Bolt Plus. They've developed their own chain. It's not an overnight solution, and that's starting from scratch. Imagine if you have the entire complexities of an entire marketplace at your disposal there.
So, Mike, you do or do not believe they'll have it completed and they're in Web3 fully by the end of 2024?
Fully, I do not believe that that's the case. I do believe that they will make strides in the industry, but they will not. There will not be an Amazon blockchain by this date in 2025.
Ooh.
All right, so I'm going to take the other side of that.
I disagree with that.
I think there will be an Amazon blockchain. We know nothing here, by the way, folks. But as a reminder for those who didn't pay attention, back in July of 23, Amazon Web Services, I think, had rolled out tools to help people build blockchain infrastructure things. So they're in the support of blockchain business. They just don't have their own blockchain. And I think that ties in directly. I could see them rolling out an NFT marketplace or something like that for sure. I think Amazon comes out with a blockchain.
So let me ask a quick follow-up to that then. Would this blockchain be more of an internal operational piece, or would this be an external customer base? Because that counters to what I was talking about.
Okay, so then I'm agreeing with you. I think that they're going to ultimately want to get to the external Web3 thing we always envision here. But initially, they're going to build an infrastructure for themselves, which is what AWS really was back when they were delivering packages. And they'll just have a better way to run what they do.
Yep. Okay.
All right. So, Mike, let's hear your suggestions, your prediction. Or is
okay. So with everything and the circus that is on the horizon for the rest of this year, with the election here in the States and with everything going on, how many controversial stories are we going to have to report on involving AI? And I want a number. I'm gonna give you guys my number, and then you can weigh in or weigh out.
Are we talking AI big stories like Sports Illustrated CEO gets fired?
Big enough for us to talk about on the show. Right. So we do 50 episodes. How many of the 50 episodes will contain controversial stories involving AI, like FTX style, Sports Illustrated style, like those types of initiatives that we debate back and forth for a full segment? I'm going to go ahead let's just say there's 50 episodes, one for each week, 52 weeks, take a couple weeks off. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say that there's going to be 37 times we discuss controversies on AI.
I take the under, but yeah, I'm gonna say probably more 15 to 20. But you're right.
Oh, really? I was going to say 48.
I think here's what my logic is.
Does that mean if we do 2 in 1 week that counts as 2?
I don't disagree with both of you that there will be a crazy number. I think that it's not going to be newsworthy anymore. After the 5th CEO gets fired, it's going to be like
it's not going to be that, though. It won't only be that. It'll be all sorts of things. I reckon 40.
40. Wow, that's almost every episode.
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
I don't think that many.
In the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks, every episode we've talked about AI. That's 100% of the last whatever.
In this little narrow band of what we're talking about, I'm going to say copyright, legal copywriting is going to be what we'll be talking about, I expect. But not, I don't think so much that there's going to be, like the Sports Illustrated and FTX level of disaster is going to become accepted as that's the business, which is maybe a sad statement.
So the reason why I think 40 is because I think that there will be more than just ChatGPT to talk, OpenAI to talk about next year, but that is preempting one of my other predictions.
We seem to be having that problem. So let me take us through my prediction here. This might be one, Michelle, I know you're going to hate this, but the social media business model gets overturned in 2024. X introduces a decentralized Web3 business model based on subscriptions, not ads. The platform allows users to control and monetize their own data, and this gains widespread adoption and reshapes social media before December of 2024. Mic drop.
My God, that's a mouthful.
What do you think? I feel like Musk is going to lose $44 billion if he doesn't figure out some way to make this thing work. And the advertisers aren't going to allow him to make it work the way it used to. So I'm betting on the man here. I think that something new happens, and he's a Web3-ish kind of guy.
I don't think he can pull that off in a year. No.
I do. No. And only because a lot of the infrastructure is already in place. It doesn't take much to deploy.
His friends.
Well, whatever it is. I mean, like, you have the ability to integrate Web3 components into Twitter now, or X now, whatever it is. But I think that's a very plausible prediction. Whether it's a subscription base that is relative on chain, that's up for debate. But I would almost consider, sort of a lump sum one-time membership fee in the form of an NFT. That would actually drive a ton of revenue in and prove a few different models on the front end of that. Whether he does that or not, I don't know. But, I guess rewinding to one of the previous predictions, is it possible that X has their own chain as well?
I don't think so. I mean, it's of course possible. I don't think they'll do that because of what Michelle said. The build out of a chain is different from just using like, Matic or something.
I don't think he can be bothered with that, to be honest.
I feel like Musk has no choice but to figure out some way to make that business work.
Oh, for sure. I just don't think he can pull all that off by the end of next year with it actually having people use it besides him and 10 of his friends with the election and stuff. I think that they're going to get too caught up with the fake news, right wing, left wing, like all of that stuff, I think is going to detract from him being able to. He might start rolling out a model like that, but not be able to complete that by the end of the year.
So in the United States, Michelle, I know you're familiar with it. There's a huge anti-pro censorship debate going on about free speech. And so a lot of people are angry enough about the censorship that they're willing to pay to not be censored.
Sure.
A lot of Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, all that craziness.
Yeah.
So I don't know that lends itself into this model, but I feel like there could be a way. There's money at stake, and if you're making content people want, and you're allowed to make crazy content, I can see it. I think about all the UFO nut jobs. Anyway.
Hey, can I throw in a bonus prediction based on this? I think Linda Yaccarino's gone by Q1.
I take the other side of that. She'd have been gone already.
Reckon?
I think she's hitched to him because this is an all or nothing for her, right? He's a rocket ship or he's her death. But she's still there.
Unintended, I guess.
No, if he makes this all work, she's a superhero.
Is she?
Well, this is the Sheryl Sandberg hitched on the Mark Zuckerberg thing. Like, is she?
But she was there 12 years. This is very different.
That's true.
Like, he's tweeting things in contradiction to her while she's on stage giving interviews. Like, that never happened to Sheryl and Mark. Like, that was not what happened with them.
Because I think that Musk runs he's a benevolent dictator, right? That's the way that if you work for a guy like that, it's the him show.
Sure.
I don't know. All right, Michelle,
anyway,
let's hear your prediction. Prediction number 2 out of Michelle.
Prediction number 2 is the September release of the iPhone will have a wallet on it that is for blockchain.
Built in.
Yes.
Interesting. Mike, what do you think?
I feel like they would have that would have leaked by now if that was the case. But I'm not dismissing it as a possibility. I mean, we've been harping on that for quite some time now, and I think that's the next logical step in this whole equation.
It's time.
Will it happen on a mobile device before it happens on a computer device? That I guess is the bigger question here. So,
yes,
we obviously didn't see anything transpire like Black Friday or any of that stuff. So it's going to be that's an interesting prediction. I'm going to go ahead and say that it is not an official piece of the hardware, meaning like a custodial wallet does not come with each device, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's an integrated application that people could simply download and it gives them one right then and there.
I'm with Mike on this. I think that it's the beginnings of, but I don't think the demand is there yet. Although I'd love to see it, and I'm with you, Michelle. I feel like it's definitely time, but there's not the public demand right now for the wallets aren't working, and we need a better one. Although we all know that.
To push you back on that, the technology wasn't there to have the necessity for QR codes here either, and yet it was developed in the camera function and therefore made QR codes more plausible. So again, like this could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised either way, to be honest, but I just feel like that's news that at least us being in the trenches in blockchain and Web3, we would have heard about that.
I agree with you, Mike. I also think that the downside of being in the trenches is we tend to think things are further along than they might be. I don't think the general public's there yet. All right, Mike, what's your prediction number 2?
Prediction number 2 is, all right. So, well, that was actually one of my questions as well. Let's see. Prediction number 2. What will the state of the NFT market be in? Will we still be calling this the crypto winter? Will it emerge a little bit from the bear status into the bull status? Like, do we have a lot to look forward to just from an NFT side of things?
We're not in a crypto winter anymore, Mike. I don't know that we can use that term when Bitcoin is going to the moon.
I wouldn't say moon, but it's definitely higher than what it's been. But that factors in another question. I mean, in what is it, early Q2, Bitcoin is halving.
Yep.
So we could see an increase in the price then. Who knows? But will that have a direct impact on the NFT market? Will we see more projects emerge? Will we see more corporate projects emerge? My prediction, and then to arm wrestle it after. We're going to see a lot more level 2 collections out there. I also predict that some of these older collections that were built on Ethereum in the before time, those are going to get scooped up and acquired by some of these other entities just based around their community build alone.
So to respond to that, Michelle, do you want to go first?
No, that's all right. You go, and then I'll go.
I feel that Bitcoin is the story as it's a Wall Street finance thing. I don't think it's an NFT thing, meaning that as Bitcoin goes, so will financial Wall Street, big money go, the banking system. I don't think the NFTs, although I completely see how they're connected, right? Especially in the ordinals level. I do think that NFT market starts to make a comeback, and I don't think it's going to be directly because of the Bitcoin halving is going to be interesting, but I don't think it's going to spark NFTs.
Well, the only real connections I'll make with that is that Ethereum is really riding the coattails of what Bitcoin does, right? So if Ethereum goes up because Bitcoin goes up, then there's more opportunity to transact in these smart contracts using NFT projects, even if that means bridging your Ethereum into layer 2 coins, whether that's Polygon, Optimism, whatever it is, Arbitrum. So that's where I think the advantage comes from the NFT side in riding the coattails of the progress that Bitcoin has.
But I don't think Bitcoin and Ethereum are the same thing, Mike. I mean, I know we know they're not, but they are correlated for a time, and they are right now. But ultimately, I think that Bitcoin is about can't print money, and Ethereum is about better way to trade value. They're not.
The purpose behind each one is significantly different, and we've discussed this. But when you look at a snapshot of 3,000 foot view snapshot of both chains overlapping, you see very, very similar trends when certain peaks and valleys occur. Right. And that's just due to the fact that these are two of the most traded coins, and typically you trade the coins amongst each other. If Ethereum is down, typically you pull some of your Bitcoin out and you buy into the Ethereum and you trade it back later on. But either way, I think that, wherever Bitcoin ends up, which we'll talk about, I guess, a little bit later, I see positive things coming with the price of Ethereum. I mean, it's not low right now, right? It's still below where things were at the peak. I don't know if it'll ever get to that point again. But I do see at this point in 2025, we will see a higher price point from where it is currently.
Michelle, NFT market makes a comeback in 24. What do you think?
I think that I agree with part of what Mike said. I think the number of NFT marketplaces, I know a number of them whose funding runs out. If it didn't run out in December, it runs out in the next couple of months. And I think the number of NFT marketplaces, they might still be sitting there, but they will just be not involved in anything anymore because the founders have run out of money and that's it. There'll be no innovation in them and stuff. So I think the players in that part of the market will reduce. So, you might have OpenSea and Blur might still be there and, XYZ or whatever the other one is. But all of these other little ones that people started, I think are in big trouble. So from that point of view, I think that the marketplaces themselves will be significantly reduced by December next year. In terms of NFTs and things like that, I like what you said, Mike, about some of the level 2, layer 2 chains purchasing some of the bigger collections and stuff, possibly at probably reduced prices. I can't see. One of the things I can't see is that the hype and the the shillers that are still around on the fringes, they are still going to try and come in and scoop up, mess up, whatever it is that they do for a while yet. And I think that when there are big moves with certain collections, so say like Azuki and, Bored Apes and all of those sorts of ones, when things are starting to move in that, they will come and swoop in and try and steal some of the money. Not literally steal, but even though that's what they're doing, but you know what I mean. So I think that that will cause issues. There'll be a lot of this, like the Friends Tech thing. There'll be a lot of the pump and dump. It'll still be happening until all of those people run out of money.
I look at it as if we've done the dot-com boom run-up of like 1999. Our crypto winter is the dot-com bust that happens in March of 2000. And now comes the long, slow build. Like you've gotten rid of the pets.com. Now comes the long, slow grind up of an Amazon. And so we're going to start to have real projects that are doing real things in the NFT marketplace. But I don't think it's going to be quick. I think this is not going to be, I almost think it will be almost not noticeable.
But there will still be projects that build on chain, right? There'll still be bigger brands that explore the opportunity, which, I guess based around the original question, will the NFT marketplace thrive in 2024 or will it, suffer? Another factor that, I'll bring to the table, and obviously this is a prediction show. So, depending on how the US elections go, at least in this country, that's going to determine on how much flexible and free money becomes available for the next 4 years for people to play in the sandbox again.
Right. Interesting.
Yes.
I think that, Mike, you're right. It will grow, the NFT market. I just don't think people will notice it's happening. All right. Prediction number 3 out of Marc. 2 rather. This is not my numbers day, huh? Prediction number 2 is introduction of blockchain currency by a major economy. I'm calling for China to release a blockchain-based digital currency for everyday transactions. The Chinese CBDC will spark a recalibration of the global financial system, and this will become a counterbalance to the U.S. dollar dominance. How about that? Chinese currency.
The U.S. are in big trouble if that happens. Bye-bye.
So I don't know that the U.S. is in trouble, not because I'm American, but because I think people are nervous about a Chinese communist-run CBDC. But I do think there's a competitor to the dollar in the world. It's not digital yet, and it wants to be.
I don't know if on-chain is the answer to that. Mostly because, you're dealing with a communist regime, right? So, the transparency initiative is not appealing to them. They obviously want to be able to do things without public scrutiny or without people, wanting to do that. But I will tell you this, if you are right, then Michelle's prediction earlier about, Apple coming out with the hardware, I mean, that's almost a sure thing, right? First of all, it's all made there. So it might become a standard that they have to be within the hardware. But it only makes sense to ease the onboarding process if that's the only instrument of financial capabilities. The other thing you really got to concern yourself with is, if there's a lag in internet connection or if somebody's phone dies, they can't live. Yes. Like that's a consideration that, I don't know if they care about, but that's what I think is a preventative hurdle here.
Level, Mike, not the government doesn't care.
No, well, they don't care.
They don't care until they are kind of forced to care. And, who knows if they actually do. But, I can't imagine some dude going to the store, riding his bike 30 miles in the middle of some mountain town in China to go buy some like flour or something. And, his phone dies and then he has to ride 30 miles back. I mean, I don't see that being a practical solution.
He'll just plug it in at the recharging thing at the store. And then, because I can tell you, if that was the case, stores would ensure the fact that people's phones don't ever go flat. So there'll be charging stations in everywhere if that happened. Okay. I think that that's what I think about that.
But so let's say that there's a massive storm and the internet's out.
This is not the Chinese government's problem.
Well, it could be if their whole system runs on the fact that transactions occur within their country, right? They collect taxes on that.
I love you, but you have a very American-centric view. Like that's the individual is how you're right. I agree with you. But the Chinese government is interested in one thing: control.
And I think
I think you could do that without blockchain.
What do you mean?
Well, you can have a digital currency that's not on chain. You don't need blockchain for that.
You're saying that, right? You're saying that they will. Well, they were doing blockchain news, or if you remember this, you're saying that they're going to have a digital currency that's not on chain.
Well, they already have a digital currency,
right?
A form of it, right? A digital social credit score, right? We'll call that currency, where you have to show your face in order to take toilet paper out of a public restroom. The fact that that system is not currently on chain, right? There's no ledger of transactions for each time somebody wipes his ass. I mean, I'm sure it's sitting somewhere on a server, but it's not on chain.
Right. I think that if the bigger question here is about whether or not they have, if they want to dominate or take over from the US as the world's currency. If they do, and let's assume they do, they would love to usurp the US dollar with the yuan or whatever. So if that's the case, then I think they would go on the blockchain, Mike, to achieve that ends if that's what they had to do.
Well, I agree they'd have to be on chain to do that. And I do agree that that's what they want.
While I don't disagree that is their intention in becoming the world dominant currency, I also push back in the sense that their number one source of consumerism is here, right? So like that's going to be a problem if the US dollar plummets when their whole economy and their whole system is predicated on our consumption habits.
Yeah, but that's always been that's just world trade. That has nothing to do with blockchain.
Well, we haven't seen the dependability that they have on our system financially. Like if everybody stopped paying for anything tomorrow for a week, China is dead. There's nothing that they can do to survive. I
agree with you. And I'm not saying it'll be that radical. I think that Americans will still want to buy Chinese goods. They'll just have to have a digital thing to do it.
Well, that opens up a whole different set of parameters as far as what currency is accepted here in this country.
Well, that's exactly what I think will happen.
So you think that you're going to be able to go to a local store in Atlanta, Georgia, and buy a loaf of bread with yuan?
No, absolutely not. No, you're personally not allowed to. You have to use the currency.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. But they're going to be the internal hand-wringing in the United States of we don't have a central bank digital coin, and they do in China. I think we're heading to that world.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll happen this year, but.
All right, Michelle, what's your prediction?
I agree. I don't think it'll be this year either.
Okay.
Within 3 to 5, maybe, but not this year. Oh, yeah, as in not in 2024.
Okay. Michelle,
so prediction number
3.
Okay. Drum roll. I think that there will be as good, if not better, competitor to AI come out. And that's why I predicted 40 stories of AI for this year.
You're talking about OpenAI, a competitor to them?
And a competitor for OpenAI, yeah.
I mean, that would behoove the world. Mike, what do you think?
I mean, I think there's just too much money that we saw is in play with this industry for bigger players like Amazon and Google to not pull full force efforts in developing that. And again, it's a race at this point, right? It's not about who can be, first anymore. It's about who can, be first and then outdo the first place person. So yeah, I think that Google, if they're going to, have a dog in this fight still, they're going to perfect their systems the best possible way they could. They're going to leverage existing systems in order to help expedite that process, just by feeding it whatever information they can. Even perhaps figuring out strategies on blocking ChatGPT bots from acquiring information from Google sources. I mean, that's the cyber warfare that we may see between these companies. And that's very possible, by the way. If ChatGPT can't tap into Google because Google has their own version, ChatGPT is in trouble, right? What are they going to rely on? They're going to rely on Bing? Give me a break.
No, Gawk.
Siri.
They're going to Elon.
Well, I mean, they are Microsoft based, right? So like Bing would be the way to go with them. But the whole point is that, the end, it really determines, who holds the data, who owns the data, and is that data manipulated enough by owning it and having control over it that you can put a monster like we've seen emerge in this open AI concept, out of business, or at least put them in risk by implementing certain elements like that on your own system.
So I'm going to call up the concept of duopoly, right? Walmart, Target, Coke and Pepsi, McDonald's and Burger King. There's always like a 1-2 in every industry. And I think that we're looking at OpenAI/Microsoft, which I consider the same firm, is one. And the two is up for grabs right now. It's definitely Google, but Anthropic and Amazon want to be in there. So that'll be interesting. I'm going to side with Mike on this one, Michelle, because I feel like OpenAI has so much funding. And even if they didn't have $10 billion from Microsoft, they'd have it tomorrow if they put it out there to the world that they needed money. So I think it's hard to overcome that type of ability to scale resources, which is partly why Sam Altman, I think, was brought back in there. He was the golden boy. He was helping them get where they had to go. That means money. So I could be wrong, but I think that OpenAI, I'd love to see a competitor because, I mean, it helps. Competition always helps, no matter what market you're talking about. But they've got a good head start right now.
Well, I think agreeing with me is a New Year's resolution that you're already living up to. So
I'm breaking it. Find something just by virtue of the fact that I can disagree with that. I'm going to.
Well, good, because my next one has it's going to give you a little bit of a noodle scratch if you want to disagree or not. Threads is dead.
What is it?
Threads is dead.
Threads.
Dead. We will not have any.
No way.
Is it dead
we will not have any progress of Threads.
The app?
No. Meaning like it's just going to sit there dormant. People are going to use it, but there's going to be zero. There's going to be zero business that is generated from that. There's going to be zero news stories that arise from it, other than the fact that it's done nothing. This is a dead duck sitting in the water.
Okay, Michelle.
Disagree with that 100%. Disagree. I reckon by the end of maybe sometime in Q2, they'll come out with an API. All of the social media platform softwares will be able to link to it. People will be able to start automating their content onto it, which at the moment is probably one of the biggest barriers to entry for people to use it, in terms of, having to go onto the app and all of that. And be able to do that on desktop with software. I disagree with that entirely. I think Threads is going to be the standout social media for
I'm going to take this opportunity to disagree with both of you. I think that Threads isn't dead in terms of it's already fairly irrelevant to some degree. It's not had the impact they were hoping at this point. However, it doesn't go away, Mike. It's going to become this political right-left thing that's going on in the United States. The people who hate Twitter, they're going to stay on Threads. And the people who hate Threads, they're just going to go back Elon. But I'm going to go back to my
never on Twitter anyway. Never on Threads anyway.
But Michelle, I'm going to go to my prediction number one, that I really do believe X will reinvent itself as a whole new thing. And that's going to put pressure on social media in general. And so I don't think that Mark Zuckerberg has the Web3 chops, let's call it. I mean, Meta hasn't really had the impact. So I feel like Threads won't disappear because people want a far left spot to be. But I don't think it's going to be the town water cooler, whatever we call it, X Twitter.
Well, I was about to say, if X Twitter turns into what you're talking about, then there needs to be a town square somewhere. And what's that going to be? Because it's not going to be Facebook.
I don't think so.
I doubt very much it's going to be TikTok, which leaves the door open for Threads to actually be that by the end of the year. If Twitter does what you're talking about, Mark, and it's not the water cooler anymore for the right wing.
I believe we've lived through the death of the town square. And here's what I mean. In the old days, you had the centralized spots of news, let's call it the network TV or whatever, the newspapers. That got displaced by the internet's, long tail of the internet. Everyone's got the crazy little point of view on their one thing they watch. That's where it's going to go with social. There's not going to be a one-stop shop where we all can hang out and talk. It's going to be the nut jobs over here and the nut jobs over there. And I'm with my nut jobs and you're with yours. And they're never going to come together. That's the problem in the United States right now with the voting.
But you got to understand, people. I disagree as well, and I'll tell you why. Because people thrive on the controversy, right? So they live for it. They want that fight. They want to play keyboard tough guy and hide behind their phones or their mouse pads, and like they don't want to sit there in an echo chamber all the time, because then it gets boring. You start, because then when you get in the real world and you actually meet somebody with a different point of view, you're almost like a deer in the headlights, because you don't know what points of view they're talking about and what their reaction to specific topics are. So I think that, look, if Threads does survive, which I don't believe is going to be the case, they also have an uphill battle of having the reputation associated with Facebook. So even if it's a far left group that calls Threads home, they're not the biggest fans of Zuckerberg as it is anyway. So, again, I don't know where all of it ends up. Well, time will tell, but I think that, it was an experiment that failed miserably, and I don't see it rebounding anytime in the next 12 months.
I'm no huge fan or anti, but I don't think it failed miserably. I think it did what it was supposed to do, Mike. It's a competitor to X.
Okay, but again, if it's not being utilized, what good is it? What good is the advancement in the technology, right? So the fact that you onboarded a bunch of people, I mean, that could have been, again, I referenced the fact that everybody woke up one morning with a YouTube album, right? Like nobody asked for that, right? Just like nobody asked for these types of apps as well. But because you're a part of that ecosystem, you got it. So that doesn't mean it's a successful platform. We saw a plunge of, 70%? In a week or 2 weeks. I mean, it was insane numbers.
As of October, Threads...
Not as quick as Friends Tech, though.
From a few months ago, Threads had 33 million daily active users, if you believe Google. So that's not small. There's people there.
Or there's bots there.
Good point. All right.
I think that I agree with you, Mike. I think that people need to have a space where they can be outraged at the outrageous.
Yeah, no argument here. And also, that's controversy. The platforms want that.
Well, they need that because that's the addiction of coming back, right? That's I posted something.
It's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Well, not really, because again, it keeps them in the news cycle. It keeps them, it keeps people intrigued enough to at least see the controversy that's happening there. Whether they interact with it or not, you're still going to want to show up and see what crazy nut jobs are talking about what.
Yes, but the problem they have is that, and last year particularly, we saw was that managing that is beyond the capabilities of most of the organizations now, because some of it's just got too much out of hand, I mean, I don't think that Threads stays. In theory, it's quite nice there now. I don't think it stays as nice. I think once ads come, then that's going to annoy people. But I think that by the end of the year, they will have more users and more daily people than you think they do.
I don't think ads come. I'm going back to my first prediction. I think a new social model's on the way.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, I'm taking us to my third prediction here. This is my nuclear bomb drop here for you guys. OpenAI.
Okay. I'm ready.
OpenAI officially achieves artificial general intelligence. AGI officially surpasses human intellect. This sparks AI regulation in the U.S. The world enters a new era of post-labor economy, and the concept of a career is gone.
In 1 year? Are you insane?
So here's what I'm thinking. I'm worried about this whole Q-Star thing. I think they got something in there. Something's brewing and we don't know about.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I kind of hope I'm wrong on this, but I mean, is AGI not their sole goal?
Oh, God.
No, that's a real question. Like, that's the whole reason that company exists. And Sam...
Ask Mike's daughter what she thinks, because she's right there.
She'll know more about AGI than we will. Hey!
Hi! You say hi to all of Daddy's friends.
Yeah.
Hi.
All right,
Hi.
Mike.
What do you think about AI? Do you think it's going to take over humanity next year, or are you going to live to see 5 years old?
I might make donut and cupcake.
She wants to make donuts and cupcakes. All right, so AI can't do that yet.
Not yet.
No, not yet.
I go for donuts and cupcakes.
However,
Okay.
What's that baking game that used to be on the iPad? Get one of those.
That's hilarious. Mike is adorable.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to kill humans. I'm saying that I just think that it can act as an agent on its own.
What's the measurement of intelligence? Is AI going to beat somebody at chess? Like, what's the defining feature here?
Measurement that we could use. Like, we've never established what is the metric. I just think that they'll release something that is agentic enough that it can create whatever it needs, write whatever software it needs, do whatever task needs to be done, and that they don't need. I'm not saying it's the end of people. I'm saying it's the end of the job that we've always known. Now, granted, your blue collar guys doing your plumbing and electrical, like that's all going to be the new thing. But I think that AI is going to advance. Like no one here would disagree with that. And AGI is the ultimate goal here for OpenAI. I don't think we disagree with that. And I think they're pretty close.
Well, I mean, here's a better way to ask your question, I suppose. Will a version of something like ChatGPT be able to update itself with a new version?
I do think so.
In the next 12 months?
So I dropped a thing in the chat that we all share a chat, folks, that we just compare ideas for articles around. There was a piece out, so now it'll been a couple of weeks back. But the ChatGPT was getting snarky at the end of the year of 2023. To the point where enough people complaining about it that OpenAI was like, yeah, well, check it out. We don't know. The model hasn't been updated since November. And by December 14th, people were complaining. So
do you remember that movie Bruce Almighty where Jim Carrey becomes God and like he gets a billion prayers and he's just getting frustrated because people were asking him the stupidest stuff? Like, hey, can the Sabres win the Stanley Cup? And like all these random things. Like I need to have a wart removed. Can you, they pray for that. How much crap has ChatGPT had to answer since its inception here? Like if there's if there's a viral Twitter account or TikTok account or something that's coming in the new year, it's going to be stupid responses by ChatGPT. Yeah. And really who can have the funniest versions of that?
Yeah,
I think sorry, go on.
No, Michelle, go ahead. I want to hear.
I was going to say, I think that if it gets to the point where what you're predicting comes true, then I think it gets turned off by bigger powers than
Microsoft?
Sam Altman. No.
You mean like
the US government will be. Look, can it run for president? Because if the choice is between ChatGPT and the Donald, I'm voting for ChatGPT.
Trump 2024.
I mean, honestly, I feel like AI is at the point
I can't talk to you again, Mark.
Hold on a second. On the political thing, we've talked about this on this program several times. AI and the regulation that is lagging was our whole focus of a show a few shows back. Like they're not going to shut it down because by the time they figure out how to do that, it's just going to keep morphing into the other thing, the new version of it. And don't forget that the government's benefit from it.
That's the point I was just about to make. They haven't figured out how to maximize the benefit for themselves yet, like they had with social media, right? Like they didn't put all these regulatory efforts in place until they figured out the loopholes on how to work around their own regulatory system, using, just another mass channel to communicate with people and, convince them one way or another. There's a very strong play here with AI that they can get they could sink their teeth into, and maybe there's a right wing and a left wing AI that approaches heading into 2024. Who knows?
That'd be a good presidential debate.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't look. I do predict that we will see certain things like lawsuits where the attorney is a ChatGPT bot. There will be a judge that is issued in some small remote town that couldn't find a judge for that particular year that turns to, ChatGPT or some of these open AI systems or AI systems where, lawyers would have to put in the case files and the information into the system, it computes everything based around whatever law integration it has. And, it moves on from there. So look, all of these things are very possible. I don't know where it ends up, but again, this is what is exciting about a prediction show, because we've seen how fast it exploded onto the scene this past year.
Yeah. So I want to go around and do the quick summary recap here of our 3 predictions for each. Michelle, if I could ask you to kick us off, what are your 3 predictions again, just a quick recap?
So Amazon Marketplace, either its own blockchain or definitely some kind of NFT digital asset thing. iPhone wallet, on-chain wallet, coming in the September release of the iPhone. And there will emerge a bigger, better competitor for OpenAI.
Mike, what are your 3 recaps?
Threads is dead, and Threads is dead. No, but I also have, how many controversial stories will we be reporting on this show that involve AI? And I forget the other one. I think it has something to do with the layer 2 chains.
Yeah, which chains would be the go-to chains? Mine were, again, X introduces a new decentralized Web3 business model. China rolls out a CBDC. And then AI, we finally see OpenAI hit artificial general intelligence. So we'll see. We get to December of 2024. A lot's going to happen between now and then for all these predictions. I think that we'll be here to talk about them every week, as always. The purpose of this program, just so folks know, we're here to bring you the weekly insight into the digital media revolution. That basically means everything from AI and blockchain to marketing insights, right? This is how you can build your business with the tools and create opportunity for the small to large businesses that, frankly, are being overlooked in many cases. So we come every week, Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. We are Business on the Block on YouTube. We're also across LinkedIn and Bolt Plus. And I guess any other final words from YouTube before we head into the new year?
Say Happy New Year.
It's going to be great.
Happy New Year, everybody. We'll be back next week.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.